In case you missed it, here's a Sports Animal Rewind. Our Eye on the SEC is brought to you by Miller Eye Care and Optical, 694-2622.
We bring in from PowerMizzou.com Inside STL, covering the Missouri Tigers. Pete Scantlebury joins us here on the new Sentinel Sports Page. Hey, Pete, Vince Ferrara, and Evan Woodbery. How you doing this morning, Pete?
Pretty good. How are you guys doing?
We're good. Appreciate your time. And I know spring practice got underway yesterday. What kind of availability are you getting under Gary Pinkel this year? Is he sort of shrinking things down for the media this spring?
Yeah, definitely. You know, this is the first year they've done that. In his tenure, we've had complete access all spring and, August practices. And now this year we only get 45 minutes at the start of each practice. Media has to leave, and then we can come back at the end for interviews with designated players and coaches depending on the day. But the good news for us is that all the scrimmages are still completely open to the media. So those are really what are the most important thing about spring football, and we're not going to miss a beat there.
Now, there are a lot of different storylines you've written about a number of them. Where does the health of this team in spring, where does that fall amongst the ranking of important stories for Missouri this spring?
I think last year showed that, obviously Missouri staying healthy is going to be paramount to them making any noise in the SEC now in their second season. So far this year, the spring, they don't have any major injuries to really report on, and I think the best news for Missouri is that Henry Josie, who was a first-team All-Big 12 running back in 2011, is completely healthy now, and he's already full go for all contact drills after really shredding his knee in just an awful injury against Texas in 2011. So I think that right now it's the lack of injuries that's the storyline, but as last year showed, anything can change in a moment's notice.
We're visiting with Pete Scantlebury, who covers Missouri for PowerMizzou.com Inside STL, getting a preview of Missouri here this spring. What about the defense? Certainly losing Shelton Richardson on defense, he's such an impact player. Talk about some of the areas of open competition on that defense, namely on that D-line.
Yeah, well, on the D-line, really the only open position is Richardson's spot, and obviously they're not going to. It's going to be really tough for them to fill that production with. He's sure to be a first-round draft pick in about a month now. So I think right now what they're trying to do, especially at defensive tackle, is just add depth, get a couple of guys ready to play, and just kind of have fresh bodies in there this fall. One guy that's already standing out is getting a lot of talk around the team is Harold Brantley, a redshirt freshman from Pennsylvania. He looks the part, and he's probably one of the most athletic linemen they've had. Like Sheldon Richardson in high school, he returned kickoffs for his team and returned a couple for a touchdown. So he's a good bet to see playing time this year. Other than that, they have an open battle at one of the safety positions, and then linebacker. They got to replace two of their most productive players in Will Ebner and Xavier Gooden. And there's a lot of younger guys kind of vying for time there, but it's wide open at this point.
Pete, is there any different sort of plan for Missouri this year, now going into year number 2 in the SEC, after going through a season in the Southeastern Conference? Is Gary Pinkel or this staff, are they going to change things, look to tweak their philosophy at all, now going into year 2 that we may start to see in the spring?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know how much they're going to unveil this spring. I guess we have to wait to the first scrimmage to kind of see. But, with the new offensive coordinator and Josh Henson, who was one of the offensive line coaches last year, the offense is still going to be a spread, but they're definitely changing a lot of things. And Pinkel has already kind of intimated what's going to change. They're going to try to run more of a power set out of a spread. So you can imagine more pistol sets, tight ends attached to the line of scrimmage, H-backs, stuff like that. I think that's going to be the biggest change, but it's unclear exactly when we'll see that start to materialize, whether it will be in scrimmages this spring or maybe we'll have to wait till August, or maybe we'll never get a good look at the new offense until the season starts.
Pete, just looking at the big picture for fans, for the folks at the administration there, the program as a whole, going into the second year of SEC football versus the first, is there any kind of different mindset or any kind of I guess, different way of approaching it than they did going into that first year?
Finkel always has this saying that a lot of fans have kind of repurposed as a negative about his tenure, and it's "we do what we do." He says that very often, and they haven't said that they're going to change the way they do anything after a 5-7 season. Obviously, I think they learned things about what kind of offense runs well in the SEC, and playing, defensively, kind of, they had a huge letdown at the end of the year after playing pretty well for most of the season. I don't know from like an administration standpoint if they're going to change anything. I know there's probably a little bit of heat on Pinkel after last season, especially with him kind of calling out the fan base and the athletic department about more support for the football team. But, on the field, I don't see them changing anything philosophically with how they run their program going into this next season.
Visiting with Pete Scantlebury, covers Missouri for PowerMizzou.com inside STL. What do you want to see from former number 1 overall prospect Dorial Green Beckham now in year 2?
He's got to be the guy for them on offense. I mean, he's got to be the number 1 receiver. He came on strong at the end of last season, probably starting with the Tennessee game, actually. Finally using his body more in downfield, in downfield passing. But he needs to be, if he's the number 1 overall player, he needs to be the starter. He needs to show that he's ready to be the go-to guy, and they need to get the ball to him as often as possible.
Pete, there are 2 early enrolls from what I saw, and they're both the quarterbacks. Talk about them, any of them you think quarterback of the future, and then is that James Franklin's gig, do you think, to start?
Oh, I'll start with the overview first. They've opened up the quarterback position completely. And this is the first time in Finkel's tenure where one of his guys enters the season after starting last season, but the job is open, and that's with James Franklin after injuries last season. It's really a 3-person race at quarterback. It's Franklin, redshirt sophomore Corbin Bergstresser, and then Matty Mock, a redshirt freshman from Ohio. I still think Franklin is Missouri's best-case scenario for winning 7 or so games, but, there might be some he's a very, I guess, polarizing figure, and he may not have the complete support of the coaching staff after all the injuries last year. The 2 early enrollee freshmen are Trent Hosick from Kansas City and Eddie Prince from Georgia, actually. They're supposed to factor into the race. I seriously doubt Missouri wants either of those guys to win the starting job because true freshman in the SEC after a season like last year, it's not going to bode well for Missouri. But we're hearing that Trent Hosick, who's about 6'2", 6'3", 235 pounds, they could have some packages for him because he was such a good runner in high school to kind of ease the burden for whomever wins the starting job so they don't take as many hits as the quarterbacks did last year.
Pete, last thing with you. Any other storylines that we haven't mentioned that you think are important to at least see take shape in the spring?
I got to say, I did kind of mention it earlier, but Henry Josie's return, I think, is huge for this team. After that catastrophic knee injury, he reportedly ran a 4.44 laser time 40. And, in 2011, he ran for almost 1,200 yards in 9 games. He's an electric player, and if they can get him back, it suddenly makes the read option work a heck of a lot better for him. And if he's healthy, that could be huge for this offense going into this season.
It's our Eye on the SEC presented by Miller Eye Care and Optical, our spring preview of Missouri from Pete Scantlebury, who covers Missouri for PowerMizzou.com inside STL. You can follow him on Twitter. It's at Pete Scantlebury, SCANTLEBURY.